Hello and welcome to Push Your Glasses Up. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Reena, and hi, it's been a minute.
It's been over a year.
Right? Not much has happened since then.
No, not at all. Nothing personal life, nothing globally, no.
No, it's just really been a slow time for everybody, I guess. Just, total normalcy. Just doing your thing.
Taking it easy. But yeah, it's been some time since we did one of these, but we decided to kind of jump back into it with the excitement of the DC FanDome, with all of the gauntlets that were thrown in the FanDome to so many head-to-head competitions in that dome. It was very much a Mad Max experience. Yeah, it was. I was
just letting you roll. I was just letting you roll with that one.
I still do not love what they were doing with it. The literal dome that they were in. I don't think that was necessary. But I do think, in general, this was the best alternative to a convention that we've gotten all year, or all summer, whatever it was. It felt like a year, but yeah.
I mean, I guess, if DC likes to be real literal, so I'm not really surprised here.
Yeah. But it was it was just a little heavy-handed with welcoming us into the literal FanDome. I think a little less of that would have been fine, but still,
better than calling it the Comicseum. Yeah, I know.
It probably would have been about the same, honestly. But yeah, I really think that, out of anything that we've seen this year of video game replacements for E3 and actual conventions putting on digital events, this is leaps and bounds better than anything else that's gone on this summer. Way better than anything else that's gone on.
I mean, I gotta say, that I'm a Marvel girl through and through, but I was really impressed with this, and it was nice to have that excitement back. I think I got more news and excitement out of this than I did out of digital Comic-Con this year.
Yeah, digital Comic-Con was it was bad and boring.
But then
they got the short end of the stick because they had to go first, pretty much. But it was rough. It was clearly no one was ready to go down that route yet. It was not planned out very well, but it was still a little underwhelming for me.
Well, I think DC has the advantage of not having done this before, right? So Comic-Con has a lot to live up to because of the history of the live event, but DC's never really done their own thing to this extent. So, I think having a clean slate also lends itself to, a little bit more creativity and figuring things out. I mean, even in my outside of the podcast life and my job, figuring how to transition from in-person customer conferences to digital has been a lot. So I feel like they did a really smart job with that from a marketer's perspective.
It was
nice to get excited, and that's what brought us back.
Yeah, well, I think part of why they were able to do such a good job is because all of it was their own stuff in their own voice, as opposed to a third party hosting a Zoom call, basically, and just asking questions. Whereas they actually had messages to put out there. They still did the tropesy, they brought the Wonder Woman cast together later on in the show, way after their own panel, and did the game of werewolf, and it's that stuff probably could have still been left out. But I understand that they were stretching out basically an announcement an hour for 8 hours. So they had to do something, but I do think 90% of it was great. It's just a couple of the things were.
Let's just dig into it. Where do you want to start? Trailers are our thing. Trailers have historically been our thing, and there were a lot of trailers.
Plenty of those. Let's get the 2 game ones out of the way, because that's more one-sided. So
hey, I play a game now on a gaming system. I actually bought myself and didn't make a man feel upset about how he wronged me and he gave me a gaming system. So, things are different now. I bought my own Nintendo Switch Lite.
Great.
And I only play Pokemon, and nobody's surprised by that at all.
You're right. My assumption is you're more than likely not going to end up playing the 2 games that were announced, at least not for a good long time, I would assume. Just by track records. Just by track records.
I'm not there yet, Mikey. I've just become a gamer in the last few months.
Yeah. So
quarantine's been weird.
Other than the one thing of Katamari that is predating Animal Crossing.
Listen, but I branched out from Katamari. I am a whole different woman now. Are you going to watch me stream on Twitch?
Don't steal the things I've been saving up and spending money on equipment for. The Suicide Squad game looks fine. It was a CG trailer. Didn't have any gameplay. It's Rocksteady. The Arkham games are great. This looks different but similar because it's the daytime. That's different. And it's what we've seen so far is Metropolis. You're playing the Suicide Squad. It is straight up called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So you were going after what is essentially a Brainiac infected Justice League, and you so far have to kill Superman. One would assume you have to kill other people too. Curious what they're going to do about Batman, because the end of Arkham Knight ends with a very maybe it's going to be the same Batman, maybe it won't be, by the way that they dealt with some characters at the end of that. But it's not going to be necessarily a melee based game like Batman was. It's going to be a shooter that has some melee involved. So King Shark is in that.
Yes.
He'll be
yes.
So he's he's voiced by Samoa Joe of the WWE, and that makes me very happy. But he'll basically be the tank and have weapons, and everyone else will be weapons with other abilities. Deadshot is basically Boba Fett in this version. So everyone will be slightly different, but it's a third person shooter as opposed to a third person action game with lots of fighting stuff. So that's fine. That's all we know about that. That one's further out. But the announcement of Gotham Knights, which was the one I was honestly more excited for, because frankly, the Rocksteady game I was hoping for was actually a Ninja Turtles game, because that was rumored for 3 years. But the WB Montreal game, which they did Arkham Origins, which isn't canonically really one of the main Arkham games. It's a 4th add-on prequel game that doesn't have any of the same cast, and it's good, but not quite. It's not considered quite part of the mainline stuff. They are branching out and doing another game that is Batman-centric, but not Batman, and it is not in the Arkham universe. It is called Gotham Knights, and it is gonna be a 1 or 2 player co-op game where you play as members of the Bat family, and I am way more excited about that than Suicide Squad, because the Suicide Squad, it's oh, that's cool, that's fine, but playing as Batgirl and Nightwing and Tim Drake, Robin specifically.
Did you just say Nightwing? Did you just say you get to play as Nightwing?
Yes. So, and it's third person, so you're behind him, so you'll probably see a lot of his butt.
Ooh, you know what?
You may play the game. I know.
I may play the game now. I mean, we got an Xbox, we got a PS4, we got a Switch, we get them all here. So.
Well, yeah, you won't be playing it on Switch, but you'll be able to play it on the other stuff. Because this one will be cross-gen, while Suicide Squad will not be cross-gen. That will be next-gen only. But the thing that's interesting about that is they have the baseline combat design from the Arkham games that is carrying forward, but everything else is new. The story is new. The design of the game itself, it's a little... So there's like RPG elements where like when you're fighting people, there's numbers popping off over their heads. They have numbers over their heads to start with that show the level that they're at. So it's it's definitely a little more in the way that like Avengers, the Avengers game is coming out in a matter of a couple weeks. Wait, if you explain this
to me, it's like watching Sword Art Online. It's like watching some of these anime that take place in RPGs. So I see. I gotcha. I'm with you on that.
Great.
It's like Rising of the Shield Hero. It's like Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online, I will say I can say probably because I know that is a series of games as well. So
yes,
probably.
But so I understand. I can visualize what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's very interesting to me what they're showcasing as far as characters, and it's interesting because it's new, at least for them, what they're doing with the game design on it as well. And so the interesting thing for me is the Avengers game that's coming out has similar things that are Destiny style influence, where it is still co-op, but that feels a little more games as a service than the Gotham Knights stuff, because that's going to be a lot of like cosmetic microtransactions and stuff like that.
Wait, does that mean like we could play together and I could be Nightwing and you could be Batgirl and like we could go fight people together?
Yes.
Oh, we should do that. We've never gamed together.
You've watched me play games.
I have yes, that I have done, but like I have never participated. You know what? New year, new me.
Yeah. So it's interesting because the Avengers game that comes out in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna play, but I'm not that interested because I played the beta and it just feels like a generic beat 'em up pretty much. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. That game's gonna be a 7.5. It doesn't matter. Like it'll be perfectly fine. Whereas like Gotham Knights already is more interesting because I know what the combat is going to feel like, and it's based on some of the best combat in games. So I'm a lot more interested in that. And also they're doing Court of Owls. Ooh. And that is my favorite Batman story of all time. So,
way to hold out with that piece of info till the very end. Yeah,
well, it's a little bit... They teased it at the end a little bit. They didn't go full in on how... it almost feels like it's going to be overarching, which we'll come back to when we talk about one of the movies that was announced as well. But, yeah. So ultimately, I'm really excited about Gotham Knights. I'm tepidly excited about Suicide Squad, the game. The movie, on the other hand, super pumped about.
Oh my god, like... First of all, like, the bar is set pretty low. Like, let's just agree.
Oh, yeah. Well, if we're talking about Harley stuff, now the bar is set a little higher because Birds of Prey was fucking great, and we didn't actually talk about that.
I don't know. Maybe we go back and do an episode of that, because I feel like that I just keep talking about that movie because it's the last movie I saw in theaters, and I feel
Same for me, yeah.
I feel like it got a bad rap because it was like... They leaned too hard into the girl power thing, and not in the fact it's an action movie.
Well, I think the bad rap also came from the weird marketing where it's like the original name for the movie was the full like emancipation, Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of Miss Harley Quinn, or whatever it was. And then they pulled that back. It's technically still called that, but in the middle, literally 2 days after the movie came out, they were like, oh no, it's going to be called Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey for like when they're advertising for ticket sales.
Mm-hmm. Which I think they should have done in the first place. Like label it like a comic book. Like
that's the thing.
Think about what's going to fit on a title page.
Well, I mean, on that stuff, it was just called Birds of Prey. So that's whatever. But, like, I love the full original title just for the sake of it's zany and bonkers, and that movie is zany and bonkers. Because, man, We'll go back and talk about that another time. But that is, as of right now, my favorite movie in the DCEU. Or I guess it's now just the DCU again. Because it's a multiverse, so it's the DC universe. I was going to say,
multiverses make everything easier. Like, multiverses has been DC's answer. Like, the same way having different actors play the Doctor, like, helped keep Doctor Who on the air so long.
It's been a little bit of a cop-out. Because it's sort of like, with the Batman, they're like, oh no, it's a multiverse. But it's like, but you weren't doing that. You were just making a movie. That came after the fact.
Can we use that in, like, real life as an excuse for shit? Being, oh, I'm sorry, that was the multiverse. Why didn't you finish your deadline? Oh, that deadline was in the multiverse. I'll get it to you by Wednesday.
Yeah, I was traveling.
Which one do you want to start with? Suicide Squad then?
Sure.
So more King Shark. Yay!
and I like the fact that Samoa Joe is voicing King Shark in the game, but the design is sort of like, whatever. It looks like a shark man. That's fine. I love the fact that for the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's movie, he's very, like, soft and blubbery instead of being like how on the Flash TV show, he's, like, so ripped that it looks weird. Like, he's, like, super, super vascular ripped, and it is a little upsetting.
That's not how sharks look. Like, they need protection, but, like, they don't have abs. I watched Shark Week to tell you, they don't have abs.
And that's the thing, is I love for the movie that he straight up looks like a shark version of an adipose from Doctor Who.
Yes!
Like,
yes! Yes,
I put up a side-by-side photo online of the picture of him waving next to an adipose waving, and I was like, yeah, this is spot on right now.
Gail Simone had a poll a little while ago, which pitted King Shark against Jeff the Land Shark, and, like, at the time, I was, like, firmly in the camp of Jeff the Land Shark. But, like, now I don't know. Like, I feel torn.
Well,
like, I feel
so
like
here's the thing.
This is Sophie's choice for me right now. Like, I don't know who to pick.
Well, they're different tiers in my head, because that's like comparing, like, saying Pizza Dog from Hawkeye versus, like, Harley Quinn or something. Like, they're not. I'm just, because they're not. One is a steed pet style thing, and one is a speaking humanized style character. So they're not, I don't really see a way to compare the two against each other.
It's like original Yoda versus baby Yoda.
I think that's actually a more apt comparison to make, because they are at least the same, like, they're the same species. It's not like it's not like baby Yoda is, like, part camel and Yoda. Like, it's not like people are riding baby Yoda to get where they need to get to. But yeah, it's one of those things where I don't think I feel comfortable comparing those two, because they are vastly different tiers of characters.
I just love sharks so much, Mikey. You understand where I'm coming from.
I do, yes.
But we talked about this yesterday. The interesting thing is when they rolled out the full spectrum of characters that are going to appear in Suicide Squad, along with the actors who are going to play them, and we've already known, like, several of them have been announced along the way. But the interesting thing is that they didn't list off the actor for King Shark, and we had some theories about that, which are probably true.
Well, before that, they announced who was in the movie. They never announced who was playing who, though. Mm-hmm. Until this event. Other than, like, we know Margot Robbie's playing Harley Quinn, and we know
knew the actors who were going to.
And we know Randall Flagg because he was in Suicide Squad, like, and Captain Boomerang. Like, we knew, like, 3 or 4, and Amanda Waller, yeah.
Oh yeah, you can't get rid of Viola Davis.
No. But other than that, there's still 37 other people in the main cast of this movie. So Yeah, it's one of those things, and King Shark is the only one that really didn't have the on-set version of him was announced, but they haven't announced who's voicing him, except there's somebody in the cast that we don't know who they're playing. That is a fairly well-known person.
Who I have a huge crush on too, which is Taika Waititi. And
the romper man himself.
Just thinking about him as Korg and trying to translate over to King Shark, and also, you know, the freshest version of King Shark in my mind is Ron Funches on the Harley Quinn show. So I feel like there's going to be like some sort of interesting combo.
So if it is him, it'll be closer to that than the like, I'm King Shark. Like it's going to be,
wait, can you do that again?
It's going to be closer. No, because I'm already losing my voice after moving furniture all day. I'm like dehydrated and stuff. I'm constantly chugging water through this whole conversation. But yeah, it's one of those things where the speculation is there. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think most everybody's on the same page of like, he's in the cast list. He's straight up in the image of the cast list. It's just there's one character and one person that isn't connected yet. But I'm super stoked. That behind the scenes vignette was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
You see King Shark eat a guy. It's great.
Mm-hmm. I love the description of this as a 70s war movie.
Yeah.
Like
especially with the first couple comics that this is going to take most of its inspiration from is very much in the vein of like 70s war movies and like along the lines of like not satirizing but like playing up stuff like Platoon and Apocalypse Now and stuff like that and like leaning into it with a little more tongue-in-cheek aspect, which is it's gonna be rad because it's James Gunn as well. So
and he's stoked about it, and I feel like his excitement means that this probably came out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he said it's the most fun he's ever had making a movie. And considering how much fun he had making 2 different Guardians movies, that's a lot. That's a lot of excitement.
I think this was the right choice, though. I think DC leaned too heavy into the serious tone, which I think lends itself really well to Batman. But when you start getting into this extended rogues gallery, you really need comedy to kind of tie it together. Otherwise, it's just ridiculous.
Otherwise, it's just dire darkness all the time, and
yeah, and that doesn't really work with, you know, certain characters or certain teams, and I think that's what the first Suicide Squad was really missing was the humor of it all. It was way too serious.
And then they tried to fix it in the editing room, and it didn't. Yeah,
that's not where you fix things. Like, can we stop with this, everybody?
Well,
we'll get to that later.
What's interesting about that, too, is that movie, it could have been, like, decent, maybe, if it did actually come out as the original cut. But everyone that saw, like, that initial trailer that came out that had the Queen song in the background, like, that made everybody think the movie's going to feel like this. And that's not what it was going to feel like. So it got sliced up and edited to shit through that whole thing, just in post. And so it really, I think, screwed up any natural flow it would have had anyway. Similar to how, like, when New Mutants had its first trailer, everyone was like, oh man, it's going to be a horror movie. And they were like, oh, we screwed up. We have to go reshoot this whole movie now. And then it got delayed 4 times, and it finally comes out on Friday. Do not go to movie theaters. Stay home and watch Bill and Ted at home. Comes out the same day. So do that.
Hey, maybe that can be our next episode is Bill and Ted.
I am a movie theater employee. I say do not go to movie theaters. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's I'm glad that from the moment they first start filming this movie, it actually seems like a vision was in place where it's going to be the same vision by the time that it comes out. So that's exciting, as well as the fact that it's just like the cast is all like super goofy people, like Nathan Fillion and Flula Borg and John Cena. It's just gonna be like the like wackiest like this. I feel like this movie is going to be wackier than Guardians and Guardians 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel like they're going to feel like they're countering the darkness of the early movies in this franchise and like go the complete other direction.
But honestly, like, moving away from that has been a really good choice for DC. Like, Shazam was super fun. Birds of Prey was great. Like,
those are my two favorite in the whole franchise right now.
You know what I mean? So, like, I'm glad that DC is taking a different creative direction because, like, let's be real, some fun is what we fucking need right now.
Yeah. And it's like, do the dark and serious thing when it's fitting. That's fine. Like, we can...
Exactly. Like, the Batman lends itself to that perfectly.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I don't know if we want to jump to that right away or save that for the end, but like...
Well, I was just going to say that I was really happy to see Harley Quinn in not booty shorts for once.
Yeah.
And more...
I love her costume.
Mm-hmm.
It is so good.
And that she has costume changes.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's going to be... Granted, I will say in the first Suicide Squad movie, it doesn't make sense for her to have too many costume changes because it's supposed to be one night, but like, it's not a great costume in that movie anyway.
Like, do you know, like, as a woman who has worn booty shorts, like, you can't do shit in them without those riding up your ass, especially when you have an amazing ass like Margot Robbie does. Like, it's just not practical.
Some people might be into wedgies. It's fine. Well,
I'm telling you, the rounder your ass is, the more you get wedgies. Like, that's how gravity works. It just sucks it right in. Like, the more squats I do, the worse it is. I don't
know if that's gravity.
It's like it's a round object. It's like it's not going to stay flat. Like, what do you want? Just take it from me, Mikey. Just take it from me. Better choices.
I'm still sticking by. I just don't think it's gravity. I agree with you. I just don't think it's gravity. But yeah, so I mean, I think that tone thing, we saw a bunch of different tones through the day with these different trailers because Wonder Woman 84 has moments of being serious, but then it had classic moments of hope and reassurance and just straight up like, let's do the right thing.
But that I like how they do that with Wonder Woman. It's taking like a page out of like, you know, what Superman should be, which is like, this is the best of us, and this is how we face adversity.
She and Superman are closer in alliance than like in the Trinity with Batman. Like Batman weighs it down so much that they need the two of them to balance it.
Exactly.
So, and yeah, so I really, the humor in that, like when she and Steve get into the plane and he's like, oh, they won't be able to track us. And she goes, oh, I forgot to tell you about radar. And he goes, so are they going to shoot at us? Like those moments like felt so good to be back in with, because they were in the first movie, but I think they can lean into it a little bit more with this, because with the fact that it's not set in a war, I think they're given a little more freedom to do those light things that they were showcased really well in the first movie, but they were just there was a lower number of it just because of the setting, I think.
It was more in the fish out of water moments, like
exactly, yeah, like when she sees the baby and goes, oh, baby. But I feel like there's going to be a lot more of that because they're flipping it, and now Steve is the fish out of water. And so seeing that role reversal is going to be really fun, I think. On top of, like, there's going to be cool action shit. Her riding the lightning with the lasso.
Was that her last night?
Yeah. But that's, for those who don't understand that, it was a thunderstorm last night that
we had, like, crazy
threw my power out. I don't know about you, but I lost power for about a half hour.
No, we're pretty good over here in Somerville, in your former homestead.
we're good here now. Thank you. How are you? But yeah, I am super pumped for that movie. I don't know if I'm like, I think because it got overshadowed by a little bit of stuff and it was the first thing we saw during the day. And on top of that, like the marketing has just been going on forever for that movie because it was trickle out ahead of time with like, here's a poster, here's another poster, here's the first trailer, and then delay, and then COVID, and then nothing happened for a while, another delay, and then this is the second trailer we got for this movie.
You know what? Like, fuck you, COVID, and ruining all these like female-fronted superhero movies in like one fucking year. Can you stop now? Like, have you done enough?
COVID is all about men's rights. But so it's one of those things where I for some reason keep saying it's one of those things. I need to get back in the swing of things.
That's like literally the phrase of this year. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But yeah, I appreciate that we're now going to start getting more out of this. I would assume we're start getting like TV spots in a little bit and what have you. Maybe a couple of new posters just because it's gone on for so long. But it's one of those things. Again, I keep saying it. This is self-conscious now. I gotta keep not saying it. But it's great that it's like we went from the tone of that into, was the Suicide Squad the next movie that was talked about?
Oh, I don't remember. I
think it was. Yeah, it was because
we closed out with the Batman, right?
Yeah, it was Wonder Woman, and then the Gotham Knights reveal, and then there was some smaller stuff like the Sandman panel and stuff like that. That was more about like the audiobook and some new comics that are coming out. There was a fantastic milestone panel that they should have announced ahead of time. They shouldn't have been on Twitter like, guess what? There was a special panel we didn't announce in 5 minutes. They should have announced that well ahead of time because they announced a fucking Static Shock movie in the middle of that.
Wow.
Give me a break. I was gonna try to watch my language, but now I'm the one that's bringing it around. But yeah, it's.
Welcome to the dark side.
We're back. It was that and that, and then the Suicide Squad, and then Shazam, which was just
Shazam.
It was a cute panel with like a bunch of the kids and Zachary Levi and stuff. All they really did was reveal the name of the movie, so that's cool. It wasn't that much, but it was still a fun little panel. And then we got the Suicide Squad game, and then we got the Batman. And the Batman trailer, like, man, it feels good to see so many people eat their own words about Robert Pattinson. Let me tell you.
You leave My Chemical Arpats alone. I'm here for this. It's like,
well, that's the other thing. I guess we skipped over the Snyder Cut.
We can get back to that. I have theories. Let's like leave that for the end.
Okay.
That movie already fucking came out. Okay, we'll get to that at the end.
Kind of did. Kind of didn't, I guess. But the thing with the Batman trailer, like the images leaked earlier in the day, like a couple of screenshots. Mm-hmm. And so WB had to put like, okay, you saw like some low res ones. Here's the high res ones. And then everyone was like, oh, great. He's all emo. He has mascara on. It's like, no, he's fucking Batman. Every Batman that's live action has had he's had like
it's fucking
eye black on his eyes. This is just the first time they've actually, it's the first time they acknowledged it. That's all.
How come when Sebastian Stan rolls in as the Winter Soldier and like is like fucking emo as shit anyway, and they're like,
or a baseball player.
That's just fucking or football or the fucking military. Like, come on, guys, come on.
But it's just it's hilarious because every single live action Batman has had that. It's just never acknowledged in story that he has it on. The only time it's been close to acknowledged by a character similar to Batman is when Nicolas Cage was putting it on in Kick-Ass. Because he's obviously, as Big Daddy, he is basically Batman.
But also like, very prominent in Arrow with Oliver Queen.
Yeah. In the TV consistent. Shows, yeah.
Like, I'm just saying, like, this is not like the first time we've ever seen a superhero who wears a mask with
not only
using eye black to fill in the gaps.
Not only that, but people are like, oh man, what, do we have an emo Batman? Fuck you. He's the most emo fucking character ever written.
I am the Knight? I am the Knight? What is more fucking emo than that? I am like, the Knight is like one step down for cut my wrists and black my eyes.
He's easily the most, like, I think people don't realize that emo and brooding is the same thing.
Like, we should play a game like, did Batman say it, or is this a Hawthorne Heights lyric?
Yeah, exactly. And we unfortunately would win every time. But the thing with this is...
it's not a phase, Mom!
Well, he can't tell his mom that.
I
know! But yeah,
Wait, are you telling me that Batman's parents are dead? Do you think we'll see it?
I hate to inform you. Honestly, I don't think we'll see that. I don't think we'll physically see that moment.
Please.
I think we'll see. I think we'll see it again. I know. I think we'll see repercussions or like Alfred and Bruce talking. But
like
I don't
think... How many
think...
times do we have to see the Waynes get shot?
Well, like, it's year 2. So I feel like it's early enough that if you revisit it as a flashback, it's too soon after the events of it happening that it shouldn't be a flashback. It's just like that to me, artistically speaking in storytelling, that just wouldn't work for me. But
like, I'm just hoping, like, please, Matt Reeves, like, we're counting on you. Please, like, we don't need to see it again. Like, we all know.
Yeah.
We all know. We've seen it. It's done. No more Thomas and Martha Wayne getting shot.
So here's the thing. Matt Reeves is very good at picking up a story and making sure that you know whatever, like, everything about everything. Because of, like, he picked up Planet of the Apes in the second and third movie. He didn't start that trilogy. And he's very good at filling in those gaps organically without like punching you in the face with it. Mm-hmm. Although it's in this trailer, Batman very much punches somebody in the face.
Speaking of punching in the face, you know what? I think that was actually, I know it was like a little extreme, but like they led with like the brooding, the dark tone. But it was nice to know that like P.S. there's also a lot of action in this. That
first of all, the fact that they were selling this as a detective story first and not an action movie makes me so happy. Like, I love a bunch of different Batman movies. I don't love others, but none of them have been a pure detective story. Like, there's a little bit of detective work in The Dark Knight. Not a lot. It's more about, like, two unstoppable forces coming at each other, and how does that work out?
I mean, Lucius Fox does most of the detective work.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't really stick with him very long in those. We just see him get him see mad. Yeah, we get him see mad that Batman is like, all right, we got to spy on people, and then he's like, I'm out, and then it turns out it was one and done, so he's back in. But the thing with this is Batman and the Riddler, like, this actually seems like Riddler is going to be a, like, I'm smarter than you. You are going to have to use your wits to figure this out. Whereas the Joker in The Dark Knight is more about, like, you're the ultimate, like, I will not kill. I'm the ultimate, I will kill at any cost. It doesn't matter why.
Or like I don't have
and they meet in the middle.
Or like I don't have an agenda beyond anarchy. That's like the hardest thing. Like
exactly, yeah. It's control
it's control versus chaos.
Yeah. And whereas this is going to be a lot more seemingly is going to be a lot more actual investigating to try to figure something out because it's a proof of wits against each other. And that is extremely exciting for me. The fact that it's going to be more of a psychological thriller in the vein of like Seven than a superhero movie.
Which makes a lot of sense for Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne in this case. Because if you are familiar with anything other than Twilight, he's the man for the job.
Like Goblet of Fire.
Yes, exactly.
We don't need to talk about that franchise too often anymore, I guess. But yeah. I'm really excited about this movie because I love Matt Reeves. I think Robert Pattinson is one of the most underrated character actors of our current generation. And Paul Dano as the Riddler.
Fuck yeah. I was trying to talk about this.
Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon. Like this whole cast is
and Bill Belichick as the Penguin.
Yeah. I love that everyone was like...
He does look like Bill Belichick. I'm sorry,
I love that
Farrell is the actual actor, but with all the prosthetic makeup and everything, he does look like Bill Belichick.
I do love how many people were like, was that Colin Farrell? It was like, of course, that was clearly the Penguin. they gave him makeup to look like the Penguin. The only thing that keeps
make him short
the reason why he doesn't look like Bill Belichick to me is because he doesn't have a stubby nose. He has a longer nose. That's the reason. But other than that, Bill Belichick is definitely who that looks like.
If he wears a hoodie with cut off sleeves, I'm telling you, Mikey.
That is going to be a bad costume design.
But do we think
John Turturro is in this movie too? He was not in the trailer, but yeah. He plays. I think he plays Falcone in this, which is awesome.
And we haven't even talked about Zoe Kravitz as
I'm really the brief little moments with her in the trailer looked absolutely fantastic.
She's gonna be a hot Catwoman too. Let's be real here. She's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that about like any character she plays.
No, I just mean her.
Well, that's what I mean. Like
Aquaman is her stepdad.
Her real dad is Lenny Kravitz, and her real mom's Lisa Bonet. It's a very beautiful family.
It's like not like that much beauty should not be contained in one family. Like it's too much.
Well, to be fair, Lenny Kravitz, part of his beauty, tried to escape when he crouched down during a concert. So.
It's too much to be contained.
Those pleather pants just wouldn't take. So, yeah, I'm just, and then there's the thing I did while the power was out, and I made a dumb little video about Batman continuously punching this guy until he should probably be dead, and then cut in that Simpsons thing of he's already dead.
I still want you to recut the trailer to My Chemical Romance song. Just humor me.
I mean, I could do that, but I feel like I'd get a DMCA strike no matter where I put that.
Just send it to me. Just do me a solid here. Or fine, I'll do it myself.
Well, what era would it be, though?
The Ghost of You.
Would it be the
3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge?
Because I was gonna say, is it earlier stuff where he's going out of his way to say I'm not okay, or would it be the theatrical stuff because Batman is theatrical as hell?
I don't feel like at this point Batman is as theatrical because it's early on. I feel like that comes later.
He's dressed up in a big bat suit.
And man,
that's pretty
Robert
theatrical.
Pattinson's jawline look great in that cape and cowl.
I love this bat suit. It looks like, first of all, I will always stand by the fact that I don't think Batman should be a fucking gigantic hulking brute. Like, I hate, as much as I think Ben Affleck did a good job with that character, I think the design of that suit is like an overstuffed sausage. Like, it looks terrible. And I don't like the Frank Miller style. That's what that is.
No, I agree with you. Plus, like, I always think of Batman, like, training with Ra's al Ghul, like, more as a martial artist.
He's a guy. He's just a guy. He's not, like,
doing CrossFit. You know what I mean?
I mean, he could be doing CrossFit.
He's in shape, but, like, you know, he's not entering strongman competitions.
Well,
he's not the Mountain.
Think of it this way. You have to think about, like, Steve does CrossFit.
Oh, Steve's gonna love
this. I could see Steve very much as a Batman style physique.
Let me say, like, we're gonna put like a timestamp on this for him. He'll be so happy.
Well, yeah, good thing it's not a review because he can actually listen to this episode right when it comes out.
Steve, you would be a great Batman.
But, like, realistically speaking, like, I feel like CrossFit works for that style thing. But for, like, especially a younger, like, in his 20s, I would assume this Batman is supposed to be. I like the idea of, like, the majority of people, even if they're really, really fit in their 20s, aren't, like, giant ass dudes. Like, they're usually a little more slender but muscular.
Like, have you been on a dating app? Like, that's very rare. And those dudes usually don't have time to solve crime because it takes a lot of work to get that big.
I will say I haven't been on a dating app where it's dudes. But that's
just take it from me. Like that you would have no time to, you know, save Gotham. You have a choice. You can either have like gigantic arms or you can save Gotham.
Yeah, I like the idea of it's like one of those guys that gets bicep surgery where only his muscles is really, really, really big. And that's Batman.
Yeah, that's it. Can't put his arms down anymore, but man. Just walking like the kid from A Christmas Story in the snowsuit all the time.
I am the knight.
But anyway, like half of like the Nolan Batman is Bruce Wayne trying to figure out different ways to improve his suit, to make him more bulletproof, to like resist certain things, to make him punch harder. Like that's like a whole part of it is like how he compensates for his lack of actual like superpower ability through innovation.
Well, yeah, I mean, literally the first part of The Dark Knight is him realizing his suit is holding him back because he doesn't have like full movement. So that's the whole point of the upgrade of the suit, because the first suit was one of those classic Batman rubber suits. Mm-hmm. And then they made it more of a tactile, like, all right, this is a combat suit, close quarters, somebody could stab you through the panels, but you're going to have a better chance with standing against like a bullet.
Exactly. And I feel like Bruce Wayne is comparable to Tony Stark in that manner.
In a lot of manners.
In a lot of manners.
Yeah. Like being a very rich guy. A very rich guy that beats up poor people. Yeah, so I'm stoked for this movie. I was excited for this movie already, and I was clearly, if you listen to our old episodes, very much on board with Robert Pattinson as Batman. On top of that, to go back to what I sort of quickly mentioned with the Gotham Knights game, it seems like there are some teases for the Court of Owls in this, which would be super cool if this was like in the background, like they were playing the overarching main villain of like a series of movies. The greeting card that is first like given to like, this is for Batman, whatever. The front of it is an owl. First of all, that's about as literal as it gets. But on top of that, there's also like the newspapers on the wall, like all the writing about like lies and stuff like that. I think Riddler is sort of their take on a truth teller, but doing it in a way that is not like an active participant in trying to help things. He's just a character that's like sick of everything that's happened in this city, and he's sick of these shadow organizations that are controlling everything. So I think that he's acting as a source of, I'm putting all this information out there, but also I've kind of lost my mind because it's all gone to my mind.
Well, so the other thing about the Riddler is he's very logical, right? Like, everything has, like, the way that he constructs riddles, like, so I imagine, like, the illogical and corrupt things about Gotham would bother a character like that. And that's where I'm thinking, like, the lie, the whole, like, you're lying.
Yeah.
Like,
but I don't think this character is necessarily going to stick with too much logic, though, because they've gone out of their way to be like, this is not a Riddler you've ever seen before.
Which is good.
It also makes sense because he was wearing a fucking leather bag over his head with goggles over it.
Well,
he looked like Hush.
He looked like beginning Spider-Man.
Kind of, yeah. But he looked like Hush. He had a big jacket on. He had goggles, and he had. I mean, it was like a leather bag, but it looked like it could have been the way that Hush's face is wrapped up as well. So I'm super interested to see what they do with this, because this is going to be kind of buck wild.
I'm interested to see what the full reveal looks like, too, because they're going to do some sort of, like, nod to designs of, but, like, what are they going to go with? Clearly, they're not going to go with something, like, decked out with question marks, right? That doesn't really lend itself, but what are they going to do?
No. I mean, I'm sure they'll put him in, like, a green overcoat or something. Like, they're not going to... I feel like with the way that this is going, they can't go too over the top with the costume, and it has to be very subtle.
But that's what I mean. That's what makes it exciting. Like, how are they going to do it? Because whenever they try to go subtle, there's always, like, almost like Easter eggs, like, woven into it. It's actually one of the things I love the most about costume design.
What if what they do is they have him talk to the same soothsayer machine that Jim Carrey talked to in Batman Forever?
He just comes in with an orange flat top, but with a really nice suit.
It keeps me safe when I'm jogging at night.
Also, like, I apologize, listeners, if you hear my dog loudly mouth breathing in the background. She really. I've been locking her out the whole time.
I can tell you, they definitely hear. Because I can.
Welcome back to the show, Olive. You've been missed.
Yeah, this is old hat by now. But yeah, the other thing that we skipped over, maybe subconsciously, was the Snyder Cut reveal. Or not reveal, but the first official trailer for that cut of the movie, I guess. Which
First of all,
a lot of people... What's up?
Tell me something. Do you think that this even fucking exists, or that they're actually going back and making this? Because if it already existed, why release it in 2021?
Well, I think that it existed in a form that was an unfinished movie. I don't think a cut of this movie existed. That's think that they're
that's what I'm saying.
Cutting together a movie that is closer in line with what he wanted to put out.
Okay, because I was gonna
so like I think it never existed, and the loudness of a lot of people allowed it to come to fruition where it could become a thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not really a thing, because if it was already a thing that existed, it would be like, hey guys, we heard you and we have it, we're ready, here it is.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I don't think the Snyder Justice League movie ever was finished.
No, it wasn't.
So,
like, he had a family tragedy and had to drop off. But I don't know. I think that the cut of the movie had a lot of different voices, perhaps. And you know what? Who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Even if he had finished it, maybe it would have ended up similarly. And now they're just going back to things that they had reshot.
Well, it's obviously gonna be like they obviously had like a shit ton of stuff filmed, because it's gonna be 4 hours long.
I mean, they always do. They always have a shit ton of stuff. That's like,
I know.
We know
but that also means if this is going to be 4 hours long, that means the rough cut was like 5 hours long. which is
just like seems unnecessary.
crazy.
Like if you can do like Endgame in 3 hours, I think that you can do Justice League.
Yeah, but I'm interested in this in the way that I do think that he has a good eye for visuals, and I think there are going to be shots in this movie that were not in the theatrical cut that will be gorgeous, because he can do that. That's like credit where credit's due. He has an eye for shots that look terrific.
Oh no, it's like even something like Sucker Punch, you can pause it and that's a fucking poster.
Yeah. As a movie, not necessarily
not so much, but as like
the best,
as a visual experience when they go into like Dreamland.
Yeah, and a lot of people are kind of throwing shade at the idea of it being in 4:3, the aspect ratio, which technically, yes, it's in 4:3, but it's also technically not, because it's in full frame. 4:3 is a TV aspect ratio because that's just what stuff was shot in for TV. Full frame is a full frame of film that usually gets cropped to fit different theater screens, because Panavision and why can't I think of cinema? I can't think of it for some reason off the top of my head. But the two most common are 1.85 and 2.39. Those are the two most common aspect ratios for what is physically screens in movie theaters. So the full frame, if something is shot on film, it's usually full frame. It gets cropped down to fit those screens. He clearly, when I went through the trailer again, he clearly designed a lot of these shots to be full frame. And it's easier to use full frame for things like IMAX because it's closer to the aspect ratio that is taller. So one would assume that was the intent originally. So it's clear that certain shots are framed for that aspect ratio, so they would look a little weird if, like, they would look passable, but they wouldn't look as good as the full frame, just for the sake of, like, there's a shot of Clark and Lois and Martha Kent on the farm, and they're hugging.
Oh yeah,
and they're slightly off. Yeah, exactly. And they're slightly off center, and it looks like a Polaroid. And it looks like a candid photograph. That feels like an intentional thing with a full frame shot. Whereas if it's cropped, they're all really tight together vertically. Like there's no headspace above them. And it just doesn't, like, that shot to me translate as Smallville is home. And they're surrounded entirely by the sky and the corn of the farm. Like this is home. Well, that moment in the movie should feel like that.
Also, none of these fucking people have any idea how any of this shit works. Also, stop fucking complaining you wanted this. Just be happy.
You got the movie you wanted.
Like, and now you're gonna pick apart the fucking aspect ratio of the film and like, oh, it's 4:3. Like, suck a bag of dicks. Like, please stop. I'm so over this.
Yeah. So, and that's
to your point, it's like, you wanted the director, you wanted Zack Snyder's vision.
Let it happen at this point.
Let him have his vision, okay? And don't fucking complain.
Even those of us, like, me and you didn't necessarily want this. Like, I think we're intrigued by it in the sense of, like, well, let's see why it's different and see if it's better or worse. Whatever. But, like, even we're kind of like, dude, just let it happen at this point. There's no sense in yelling and screaming about this on the positive or negative side
also,
for us.
Also, he already fucking shot this, guys. Like, you wanted this. This, like, is, like, going through old footage and cobbling something together to appease you, okay? It's not like he just went out and made this now. Like, no. How long has Justice League even been out?
It was, this coming December, it would be 2 years, so it's going to be over 2 years.
Yeah, you're making him go back through all his fucking files and what got left on the cutting room floor and Like, basically making your fucking Justice League vision board of a movie. Like, chill out, okay? This is not The Secret.
God. That movie came out. That movie came out, though. There was a direct-to-video The Secret movie that just came out 2 months ago.
Like, Jesus Christ, this is not going to live up to your DC Universe Pinterest board dreams, okay?
Well, I feel like for a lot of people, they're going to get the, like, unfortunately, like, orgasmic release of, it's finally real, it's the best thing in the world, and those, it's like, it's not going to be a real commentary on what the film actually is. Because it's just going to be
that scene. Like, there's just, yeah, it's still going to be what it is. Like, you can recut it, but, like...
Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like, at best, like, you and I may be like, yeah, it was a little bit better than the other one. And then that's our whole review. But that's going to be taken as negative, even though it's positive. Just because there's so much avid... Like, no, it's the only way it should ever be made, and it's the one movie that's gonna save everything. It's like, no, it's not gonna fucking kill COVID. So,
I don't know, man. Was the cure? Was the vaccine left on the cutting room floor? Because I mean, I'd support that.
What the vaccine being on the cutting room floor?
Yeah, like, oh wait, we found it. Thanks, guys, you're heroes. Who knew?
The MacGuffin of the movie all along.
If you just use a mother box, you develop the antibodies that you need.
Well, clearly that's going to be hit or miss because the Cyborg's dad eats it in the trailer, which is a pretty telling difference from the theatrical cut.
Or maybe that's how we beat the pandemic, where we all replace our parts with cybernetics. That's it. Maybe we need to learn from that.
But yeah, like, I'm gonna watch it because now I have a free, thanks to Casey, a free profile on his HBO Max account. So I'll watch it when it comes out. I'm not, like, if I didn't have HBO Max, I would not care all that much one way or the other. It'd be interesting to watch, but, like, I wouldn't care enough to get HBO Max. There's no...
I mean, the only reason to get HBO Max right now is because of all the Ghibli films. Let's be real here.
Well, in the Harley Quinn show.
Yes. And
actually, J.G. Quintel's show, his follow-up to regular show, is on there, and that's very good. I did watch that. But yeah, there's whatever. It's HBO Max. I don't whatever.
Tell me, do you even bleed? I keep mixing it. By the way, I will mix up Justice League. With Batman versus Superman. Like those movies just interchange for me. I don't know why.
Well, because you got the entire Justice League in Batman v Superman. They all make cameos.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so that's why my brain is like...
You get the Trinity, and then you get cameos from the other members.
So essentially, the Snyder Cut is already in my head, is what you're telling me.
Probably. But that's the other thing, is, like, Darkseid wasn't in the theatrical cut, but he's in this version, clearly. Starts out the whole thing. This trailer, though, not down with. Dude needs to stop using Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah for everything. Also, it's the sex scene in Watchmen.
Yeah. Actually,
and I like Watchmen. I like that movie.
The Watchmen trailer
with Smashing Pumpkins.
Yes, you knew I was
That is a kick-ass trailer. Yeah.
That was good. And actually,
I like that movie a lot, actually.
From a Batman soundtrack.
Yes, it is. It's from, well, kind of. There are two songs that are different versions of the same song. The faster version is in Batman and Robin.
Actually, but on the soundtrack, both versions are on it.
Oh, are they?
The end is the beginning is the end, and the beginning is the end is the beginning.
And the beginning is the end is the beginning is the slower one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
That's a very Billy Corgan thing.
there's a lot of weird stuff. That's
there
Billy
you go,
Corgan
Matthew.
stuff.
I know you're gonna hone in on this part. Call out to all our 2 listeners.
Okay. But yeah, I'm intrigued by it, but I'm also like, I'm indifferent. I don't think this was a great trailer necessarily. I think there was a couple of neat shots that were different. Like the dark side thing is okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I would.
A couple characters look different. I'm super stoked that.
I was gonna say we didn't get much with like the parademons. They just kind of showed up. It would be nice to get like a little more background, a
little more why.
Yeah, like when you remember like in Independence Day when they're like, oh, here's what they do. They're like locusts and they go from planet to planet, and here's what's up. Like, we didn't really. I don't feel like we really like got that. It was like, hi, I'm Steppenwolf. I'm gonna get some boxes.
Oh yeah, this is actually
Merry
that's
Christmas.
the one thing. That is the one thing about this is there's going to be more Steppenwolf stuff, and Steppenwolf is going to look different in this movie than he did in the theatrical cut. So there's that. But I'm super stoked that they actually brought the scenes with like Iris West back into it.
Mm-hmm. Didn't Jenna Malone get cut out of that too?
That was Batman v Superman.
Oh. See, again, Snyder Cut.
And that's another thing I will say, to give credit where credit's due. While it's still not the best movie in the world, the stuff that is in the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman makes it a more cohesive movie. I don't know if it's necessarily like a great movie at that point, but it's a more cohesive and easier to understand movie. That there are essential plot points that were cut out of the theatrical cut of that movie, and she was part of that.
Maybe
like, she helped Lois put pieces together in that movie.
Maybe like, I don't know, like these DC directors like Zack Snyder should start pulling a Miyazaki and just like send a samurai sword to whoever these execs are that are demanding all these cuts, no cuts. Like he did to Harvey Weinstein. True story.
Great.
Do you know that story?
Fuck that guy. No.
So, when Princess Mononoke was being released, Harvey Weinstein, beyond all his other horrible, vile shit, is notorious for cutting down films. And when he got the rights to release Princess Mononoke here, Miyazaki literally sent him a samurai sword that said no cuts. Because he was not going to allow him to touch that movie.
Good. Fuck Harvey Weinstein.
But is
for
that like
so many reasons.
But isn't that like the most badass story?
That is a very good story, yes. So was that before Disney got the rights to release them?
I believe so. I think that was when they were... Yeah, because Mononoke was a while ago.
Huh.
But yeah.
Interesting.
So, no cuts.
And now Disney doesn't have the rights to them at all either. They're on HBO.
Exactly.
So there you go. Yeah, I am very happy with what DC FanDome was. It was a long ass day of sitting at the computer, but there was a lot of good stuff that came out of it, and I don't think any other show this year could hold a candle to what they did. Like, they pulled together something that I think nobody had expectations to get like this good of a product out of.
Mm-hmm. But this should be like a template for people to iterate on and create better fan events online now.
Absolutely. But like, here's the other thing. The day before that it went on, they were like, oh, it's going to be 2 events now. So I don't know. I don't know if it was going to be like 12 hours long, because they're doing another one in September. So, and that one's, I think, going to be more comics and animation focused. Mm-hmm. So it'll probably be a little smaller. But it was weird to see that news pop up that they were like, oh yeah, no, we're going to do a second one of these. It's getting split up into 2, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see.
I'm just going to let you know I accidentally hit the input on my computer, and I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I heard it.
I can see it. I'm sorry.
It's fine. But yeah, I'm pleased with how it came out because my expectations were actually pretty minimal for what the show is going to be, just based on what we had already seen. So I'm glad it actually worked out in their favor and they got so much positivity out of it because
under promise, over deliver.
Well, the thing is, I think they were promising a lot. So I think they actually met and exceeded the high expectations that they were setting. I think the expectations were low, not from what they were doing, just because of what we've seen before through the summer.
Yeah, because everyone tries to do things remote.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah. But I think that'll about do it for this conversation. But
yeah, but I think we're back. I'm just gonna put it out there. So, maybe not at the frequency if we did the show.
Was that a bad John Wick impression?
Sure. I do love my dog.
I'm thinking we're back.
I do sometimes look like Keanu Reeves, so it's fine.
Sure. Whatever you say.
It's a long-running inside joke. But anyway, yeah.
Not with me, apparently.
Consider this season 2 of Push Your Glasses Up.
Yeah, apparently our seasons are 4 years long, and then we take a year off. It's like an HBO show.
It's like anime. It's like we're like Attack on Titan. We'll make you wait 5 years. Come back. Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody will care at that point.
I still care.
About this or Attack on Titan?
About everything, Mikey. About everything.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll be back. We're not necessarily. I want to throw it out there that we're not necessarily setting this up as we're back on a schedule of like doing things specifically every 2 weeks. We're gonna try to do episodes, and see how it goes and go from there. Just so we're not. Set those expectations low, just like we just said.
This is our DC FanDome.
For the 2 people that will... Actually, I was looking at the numbers. It's very weird that we have some high number months like 3 months ago, a year after we didn't do an episode. But yeah. So we'll be back with something sometime. No guarantee when. But
there are no guarantees in life, Mikey. There are no guarantees.
No, never.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.